What's up, guys? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to PXA Peeks at Rise and Shine. This is another Adult Swim joint, and well, as you guys know, I'll play anything that comes out from Adult Swim, because they are known for, if nothing else, putting out stuff that's kooky and different. And this is certainly falls within that vein, I think. This is, well, it's interesting. This is a platformer game that is kind of like if you took the formula that you've seen in games like Limbo and Inside, made it a lot more cartoony and colorful, put combat in it, and set it in a video game-based world. Yeah, I know, it sounds a little weird, right? But I mean, what else would you expect from Adult Swim? So this game comes to us from a small 4-person team from Spain called Super Awesome Hyperdimensional Mega Team, which, oh god, I love modern indie dev names. It's just fantastic. And I actually didn't really know what I was getting into with this. I just saw the art for this thing and that it was a platformer and was like, oh, I gotta check this out. I gotta see what this is about. And, well, I sat down to research it and beat it in 1 2-hour sitting. Yeah. Another thing it draws from Limbo and Inside. So, one thing that may give that away is if you go into here, this load scene screen, you may see here that, yeah, this is kind of how that game worked. It sort of checkpointed at different set pieces. So I'm going to start fairly early off here so as not to spoil stuff very much, but it is very clear where the inspiration for this game came from. And it's cool because no one other than Playdead has really done games quite like Limbo and Inside. So this game takes place in a universe that is basically the inside of a video game. There are references all over this thing. But the thing that I like is that they're not overt. It doesn't like show them and then point you at them and go, huh? Remember this? Huh? Cool, right? It's just a bunch of stuff in the background that if you know the references, you'll see it and just giggle a little bit. That's kind of what I like. So you're this child named Rise, and you end up meeting the sort of warrior of the world. There's a big war going on here. Basically, this planet's getting invaded. And you end up coming across the sort of biggest known warrior in the world just as he perishes. And he gives you his gun, which is this thing I have on my back that talks and has a big eyeball on it, which is called Shine. And when the gun is handed to me, you sort of get a bond formed with it. It sort of turns you into the major hero of the world. And your goal is to go forward and sort of stop this war. And some interesting twists and things happen along the way that I'm not going to spoil. The story in this is definitely not its high point necessarily. As you can see, unlike something like Inside, it definitely explains itself. You know, there's a lot of words, there's a lot of dialogue, on which those games tell their story purely in silence. And it's not the world's most advanced deep story, but it's cool and it's a neat little set piece, you know, or setting for what you're doing in here. So I think it's fine, though there are some characters that are introduced and that they barely do anything with that I kind of wish was fleshed out a little more. It does feel like maybe they didn't get to expand this quite as much as they wanted to. So this is what it looks like, and I mean, look at this thing. The art is what really threw me on this. See, there's a shop called Cheats and another one called In-Apps. Get it? Yeah. I absolutely love the look and sound of this thing. I mean, the art in this is just unbelievable. And the thing that people liked about Limbo and Inside was the fact that though they were very short games, it felt like every section that you were in was meticulously handcrafted, artisanal, if you will, and that everything was designed very meticulously and tested and retested and done to sort of pace things out and provide a unique experience in every area, and that is definitely what this is about. And the art in this is just incredible. The sheer amount of art, the sheer amount of unique art, it looks amazing, and the sound effects and the music in this are pretty good as well. It has an original soundtrack that I like pretty well, and I think it looks really good. The look of this is what drew me to it. It's just gorgeous, and it's so colorful, which is what I really like. And yeah, that's the one thing I like about this. I thought Inside was highly overrated. I'm a big outlier in that, but I did really enjoy Limbo. But those games sort of revel in their absence of color. Not this one, not at all. All right, so here's how this works. So it's mostly there's a few puzzles in it, but it's mostly combat challenges. And you see here, here's Shine, so I'm shooting it here. I'm playing this with the mouse and keyboard. You can play this with a controller if you want. It's only on PC right now. It's not on consoles. It does feel like the game was more tuned for the mouse and keyboard because it demands a matter of precision with the aiming sometimes that you're not really going to get with the controller. So you could beat it that way, but I recommend keyboard and mouse. So you have a couple of different things here. You have two types of bullets. You got your regular bullets and you got your electric bullets. You also have these little powers here. So this one allows you to, within these sort of transmitted spheres of influence, you can shoot a bullet and it shoots slowly and you can steer it around and it will fly around indefinitely as long as it's within these bubbles. And as you see here, if you shoot your bubble or your bullet and it goes out of the bubble, there you go. It sort of loses its momentum, right? And this is your idea here, is to get, when you see these situations, is to guide your bullet slowly to certain things. Oh, can't go up that way, so what do I got to do? Oh, let's see. I probably got to hit this button. So, whoops. Or you could screw it up. So, you have little interesting challenges like this. There's also a sort of a sticky explosion ability, which I haven't unlocked at this point in the game yet, but you'll get later. Some of the later challenges, and especially bosses, will require that you use all of those different abilities and juggle them multiple times throughout their different forms. So some of these these combat arena things can get very, very tricky. Some of them are not too bad. There's also a cover system, as you can see there, so things you can duck behind. Some of the challenges in this later on, this game can get very, very challenging. You know, it's nothing too nuts. But especially if you don't have a lot of experience with this kind of game, there will be bits where you'll find it fairly difficult. But it checkpoints very, very generously, so you'll never have to go back too far when you fail something. You also have regenerating health, as you saw there. It regenerates fairly slowly, but nonetheless, your health does recharge. So if you're able to get into cover or hide behind cover or something like that for a while, you can recover if you need to. So we're just going to steer this up and around here. Get up here. There's a bunch of secrets as well. I don't really know what you get for the secrets except for achievements. So I'm not sure if there's anything to that, but I'll show you what one of them looks like here. It's another little reference that you old school Capcom fans I think are going to like when you see it. Oh, I already picked it up so you didn't see it. Anyway, it's the, well, let me see here. I think I can show you. Yeah. See that symbol in the upper left? Yeah, you're going to know what that is if you're an old school Capcom fan. So there's a bunch of those throughout the game that you can find as well. There are a few little mini games in a latter section of this that are not terribly fun, but sort of break things up in a bit of an interesting way. If you're looking for a run-and-gun platformer, this is not really going to be the one for you. Games like Limbo and Inside, I'm sorry I keep referring to those. Reference. I'm sorry I keep referring to those. Reference. But they're kind of the only two games. They're almost a genre unto themselves in the way they're constructed, right? So it's kind of hard to not continue to refer to them when I'm playing this, and this shares so many similarities with them. But those games were not about rapid-fire go-go-go pacing, right? They were about going from encounter to encounter, set piece to set piece, puzzle to puzzle, and often having to spend some time in an area to figure out what you have to do. None of the puzzles in this are that complicated, so you won't be stuck in one given area for too long. I was stuck in one particular spot for a little bit, but that was mostly because I wasn't paying attention. You do have an ability to jump and double jump as well, but you see, you don't really have a jetpack. Just Shine sort of pushes you up a little bit, so you've got to make use of that strategically at certain places. So this is not actually a boss. There are bosses in this, though there aren't a lot of them. But this is sort of a mini boss thing, so I just had to take that guy out so that I can get this funicular going again. Impressed I knew what a funicular was. Thanks, Deus Ex. So, alright. So, we'll get going here again. There we go. And, yeah, so you'll be stopping, you'll be sort of doing encounters and moving on to the next one, but it's not a continuous flow like a more action-heavy platformer that you might expect. So here's the first major boss here. There's actually an achievement for beating this guy. Flappy Bird reference. there's an achievement for beating this guy without taking any damage, which I've almost done a couple of times, but haven't managed to pull off just yet. You can also get some upgrades for your gun along the way. You never run out of ammo. You only have a clip size, which you can see there in the upper left, but, okay, so I have to hit this with electric bullets, as you can see. So you have a clip size, but you can reload indefinitely. But you will get upgrades along the way that will increase the size of the clip that you have, so that you can carry more bullets without reloading, which will come in handy many times. Take this guy. There we go. That's his first phase. So now, as you can see, the challenge here is we have to hit that thing on his back. So when you have your bullets in this slow-mo thing, if you click the button again, you'll turn them into a fast-moving bullet again. So that's what I did there. Because obviously the sphere of influence for the bullets didn't extend far enough for me to be able to actually hit him from there. So you have to do that, and you have to time it. Again, those things, especially hitting those electric things, much easier with the mouse than with the controller. I actually did do this, about 2/3 of this when I first started playing it, I did do with the controller, so I have a fair amount of experience with both. And yeah, this fight would have been way easier the first time I did it with the mouse and keyboard. So, but it's nice that you have the option, at least, if you want it. So, let's see, I'm doing alright here. I haven't taken damage yet. Maybe if I can pull this off on a recording, I'll be very pleased with myself, but, you know, I highly doubt it. But you get the idea here. Every one of these screens is different. You know, what you're going to have to do in them, each one is different, so you're never doing the exact same thing twice, which I like. The variety is nice. That sort of meticulous thing, crafting of the levels is something that people like about this type of platformer. But, of course, this has the same problem. Darn, I took damage. Oh, well. But this does, of course, have the same problem that Limbo and Inside did, which is that it is exceptionally short. I beat it in about 2 hours. Some people have taken longer, people who might have a little more difficulty with the precision of the puzzles. But it's very short, and it's $15 US. Now, given how much people gushed over Limbo and Inside, which cost the same amount of money, I don't know why so many of the Steam user reviews on this are complaining that it's 2 hours for that amount of money, especially given these production values. You know, taste is subjective, value proposition is subjective. I am lucky that I'm in a position where I don't just have to judge how valuable a game is to me by how many hours it is. But if you're someone who does have a very limited budget and needs your gaming dollars to provide you as many hours of entertainment as possible, I get that. And you're not wrong for wanting your dollars to carry further. So if 2 hours for $15 is a little steep for you, especially for that reason, that's perfectly fair. And maybe you'd want to wait for a sale to play this game, especially if you're seeing it and you like the look of it. You know, you know, if you're able to get a big open world game with 30 hours of gameplay in it for less money on a sale, well, maybe that's the best thing for you. I won't judge you for that, but I think it's a bad thing to fault the game for. You know, if I didn't get review code for this and I actually did pay for this game, I would not personally have felt ripped off. I would have enjoyed the experience I got out of this. I do wish the story was a little bit better. And I do wish that there was I do sometimes wish there was a little more to it, but I really like what they did here, and just the art in this alone is enough to sell it on me in many ways. Like, I have rarely seen a 2D art style, hand-painted art style that looks as good as this does. And I mean, this game is running in the Unity engine, so it technically is a 3D game. But, you know, it's mostly 2D art. You know, like, look at this the parallax scrolling effect. Yes, I said it, I know. But the scrolling is really good. Like, it's just the attention to detail on the art here is incredible. Like, look at this massive tank that these guys are standing in front of. Like, this is the only time you'll ever see this, but how much time and effort did it take to draw that thing? I find that really incredible. Like, the amount of art that they dedicated. Also, yeah, these guys turn into angels and you can shoot the angels, and there's an achievement for that. Also, this I will not spoil, but speaking of references, there's a Duck Hunt NES reference in this later on, and let me just put it this way: if you have played that game a lot, you are gonna laugh your ass off at that reference and what it allows you to do. That's all I'm gonna say. But got to that point, and I was just like, oh, that's just beautiful. I love it. And there's a few things like that in this. Obviously, as well, this game world and some of the things it points out are not going to seem nearly as interesting or funny to you if you're not an older school gamer and don't get some of the references. Some of the references in this, damn it, some of them are very familiar, but some of them also may be over the heads of some people. Also, yeah, I'm dying a lot. You will die a lot in this. There is a hardcore mode, which I believe is just a one life mode once you've beaten the game. Another gaming design sin. I really wish they wouldn't lock difficulty levels away from finishing the game. I really wish you just let me choose myself. But, yeah, this... you will die a lot, even in the normal mode. The checkpoints are fairly generous, but especially in the hardcore mode, that's going to be a real challenge. But really, the only replay value that this does offer is the hardcore mode, and there's some challenges in this that like, there's the unlockable, or the secrets, which don't really give you much of anything, as far as I know, other than achievements. And the mini games later in the game do keep score, and you could you know, challenge stuff maybe that way if you wanted. But once you've beaten this once, unless you want to go back and really play the hardcore mode, which is not going to be for everybody, you know, that's going to be for just a limited subset of players, then there's not much to this. And yeah, some people might find that a tall order for $15. I personally don't, but I'm in a position where I have some disposable income, so I'm lucky that way. But I probably would have bought and enjoyed this even if I didn't get review code for it, so take that for what it's worth. Yeah, I think the art is amazing. I think the gameplay is solid, if uneven. Some of the scenes in this are not quite as memorable as others. There's a couple of fights in this, particularly near the end, that were really frustrating and felt, frankly, kind of cheap. In the way they were executed. Like, the fact they kind of felt like when I beat them, sometimes that it was more out of luck than skill. But that's, you know, my personal opinion as well. But just the look of this and these animations and how smoothly everything flows, it's really, really something else. The artistic talent behind this game really can't be overstated. It's really amazing. Like, you know, these cutscene screens, like, they just look incredible. So yeah, these are the sort of zombie enemies that I'll run into. There is a good amount of enemy variety to mix things up that you know, will require you to figure out and do different things. And while the story is a little bit wordy, I find it doesn't overstay its welcome. It makes its point fairly quick. It's not like something like... Whoops, hang on. There we go. It's not something like Mother Russia Bleeds, which tells a very simple story in way too many words. This, I think, tells it in just about the right number of words, I think, and does it pretty well. So, but if you're looking for a straight up, you know, balls to the wall run and gun action platformer, this is not what you're going to get. You know, if you want something more like that, then you're probably going to want. There's no shortage of fast run and gun platformers out there. I mean, heck, a lot of them came from Adult Swim. But this is definitely more of a slower paced, you know, move and pause, do a puzzle, things like that kind of encounter game. Again, much more like Limbo or Inside, and those were games that people very much liked. And I like the fact that they took almost... this isn't really Commander Keen at all, but it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like they took Commander Keen, or more recently Rad Rogers World 1, another game I talked about, and sort of meshed that with something like Limbo or Inside. So they took the sort of bit of lowbrow humor and sort of action-y platformer type stuff, but mirrored it in this sort of combat puzzle mentality, which is an interesting idea. I would like to see more people take the framework and the ideas that Limbo and Inside created, and really they did create it. Not too many games had done it quite that way before. I'd really like to see other people take that formula and do other stuff with it. You know, maybe not even as platformers. Maybe make even different genres of games out of it, or at the very least do platformers in a different setting. You know, something that's... I like the fact that this is bright and colorful. It's not all dark and depressing. I'd love to see somebody do something like this in a sci-fi sense, or maybe even to go even crazier with it, do something like a shmup with this kind of idea. I mean, I know shmups are normally supposed to be crazy fast and crazy frenetic and whatnot, but think of an idea of like a space shooter in this kind of scene-based combat puzzle, environment puzzle type thing. I think that would be a really cool idea. I'd love to see somebody do that. And this is sort of a step in that direction. There's a lot that's still familiar with that kind of there's a lot familiar about this and what they did here, but it differs from the formula that Limbo and Inside pioneered enough that you can see the potential for variance on that. So yeah, this is a puzzle here. There's actually an achievement for finishing this puzzle without touching any of these levers, which basically stops these I don't know why I can't hit that, which basically stops these things from moving. But yeah, there's actually an achievement that I got for completing this without doing any of these. This is actually not that difficult to get through, to be honest with you, but you know, it's sort of making use of and demonstrating the mechanics that they gave before. So, but yeah, I don't want to get too much further in this without spoiling it, because again, it is a fairly short game. But I do enjoy the framework they laid out here. The story is basic but does the job well, and the look of this is just it's sublime. The art in this, these guys need to be commended for, if for nothing else, then absolutely for their art, because it is some of the best 2D art we've seen recently, outside of maybe Clay Games or something like that. And yeah, I enjoyed my time with this. It surprised me at its length. And yeah, again, if your gaming dollars are stretched thin, you might want to wait for a sale. But I had a really good time with this, and for $15, I think it's more than fair. And yeah, it's nice to play something with the complexity, the gameplay variance and differences, not necessarily complexity, but with the gameplay ideas of something like Inside that doesn't quite have its head up its backside as much as that game did. So, yeah, that is Rise and Shine, developed by, am I going to get this right? Super Hyper-Dimensional Awesome Mega Team. I hope I got that right, sorry. And published by Adult Swim Games in 2016. It is only available on the PC right now. They've said they hope to bring it to other platforms and possibly consoles later, but this is the only place you can get it at the moment, and it is $15 US. Yeah, understand what the value proposition before you put your money down, but I had a really good time with it, and if you like games like this, I think you will too. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That does help me out a great deal. If you want to watch something else, check out the videos on screen now, and don't forget to follow @PXA Media on Twitter to find out about new stuff first.